Morning students. So today we are going to discuss about cultured media. So cultured media, we all know that these are the synthetic media that are used for culturing bacteria inside the lab in vitro. So there are different types of cultured media, different classification of cultured media. So today we will study about what are the criteria based on which cultured media are classified, and we'll also discuss simple media in details. So let's just first discuss the need of cultured media. What is the purpose of cultured media? So in diagnostic laboratories, cultured media are used to culture or isolate from the sample. The pathogens that are present in the sample can be grown using the bacterial culture media, and then they can be identified, and after that the treatment can be started. Now uh, we will go to the classification. What is the classification of cultured media? So there are different ways of classifying cultured media. So this is the first criteria, which is based on the consistency of the medium. So based on consistency, you can divide cultured media as solid, liquid, and semi-solid. So this consistency is determined by one factor, which is called agar. This is one of the constituents that is always present in a medium. So agar is the main ingredient that decides the consistency of the cultured media. So if agar is present, the medium is solid medium. You can see the example of or a picture of solid medium, which is neutron agar over here. So this is a solid medium which has agar in it. Then comes the liquid medium. Liquid medium, I have put the picture of nutrient broth. You can see it is liquid. That means there is no agar, or agar is absent here. Then comes the semi-solid medium. Semi-solid medium means these all these three tubes are actually semi-solid only. Um so semi-solid means there is agar in the medium, but it is lesser in concentration. So if we put 2% agar for solid medium, we put only 0.5% in case of semi-solid medium. So it has a jelly like consistency and not as firm as a solid medium. So this is, for example, I have put mannitol motility medium, wherein we use this media to check the motility of bacteria. You can see the bacteria has caused this cloudiness. That's because the medium is semi-solid and it allows the free movement of bacteria. So here again I have put in bolds that due to presence or absence or variation in concentration of agar, the consistency is decided. Then based on oxygen requirement means bacteria, we all know some are aerobic, some are anaerobic bacteria. So aerobic bacteria are cultured on aerobic medium, and anaerobic bacteria are cultured on anaerobic medium. Aerobic medium makes sure the oxygen is supplied, and anaerobic will make sure that there is no oxygen that is hampering the growth of bacteria. So here I have put example blood agar, which is used as an aerobic medium, and the anaerobic medium I have used. I have put the picture of Robertson's cook meat medium for an example. So you can see the piece of small chunk of meat over here, and it is always present in the form of in test tubes. So this is Robertson's cook meat medium. Okay, now coming to simple media. So, what is simple media? By the name itself, we can tell that simple media are the media which has the minimum requirement that is required for a bacteria to grow. That means it will not have additional source of nutrients or anything present in them. It will have only those things which are required for a non-fastidious bacteria to grow. In my other video, I have explained what non-fastidious bacteria are. So these are the bacteria which do not require any extra nutrient for their growth, and they can grow on basic medium also. So simple media are actually the basic mediums which have just the minimum requirements that are required for the growth of non-fastidious organisms. The best example for simple media is nutrient agar. So let's just see what all are the major constituents of nutrient agar. So we have beef extract, peptone, sodium chloride, agar, and distilled water. This is all you need to prepare nutrient agar. Suppose you are preparing nutrient broth, the composition will remain the same except you have to remove agar. Like we already discussed, nutrient broth is a liquid medium, so we don't need agar. Rest of the things can be used and only agar will be removed. So you'll have with the same requirements, if you just remove agar, you'll have nutrient broth also. Then how do we prepare nutrient broth? I have explained it very concisely here. So we just talked about what are the requirements, what are the ingredients that you need, and then you have to weigh them. Suppose you want to prepare 1000 ml, so you will need 1000 ml of distilled water. You will need 3 gram beef extract, 5 gram peptone, sodium chloride 5 gram, agar agar 15 gram. You have to weigh them, and then you have to mix them in 1000 ml of distilled water. After that, we have to, very important, that's why I put it in bold letters again, we have to check the pH. So once you have mixed all the dry ingredients with the distilled water, you cannot immediately go for autoclaving. That is what is practiced, and that is one very big mistake that people do. They immediately go for autoclaving, assuming that the pH is fine, but it should be checked and it should be adjusted. So you have to use a pH strip paper. With that, you have to check the pH, and the ideal pH should be 7.2 plus minus zero point 0.2. That means it must be between 7.2 7 to 7.4. And if required, you can adjust the pH either by 1 normal SCL or by sodium hydroxide. So this can be done. Then you go for autoclaving. So for autoclaving, the autoclave temperature should be 121 degrees Celsius at 15 pounds of pressure for 15 minutes. After the autoclaving is done, the media is sterilized and you can cool it down to 40 to 45 degrees Celsius. You have to wait for it to cool down, and then you can pour it into plates, and always pour media inside a laminar airflow so that the contamination is avoided, and then you can allow it to cool and solidify. Nutrient broth is, like I said, all the ingredients are same, just that nutrient agar, just like nutrient agar, we don't use agar here, which is the solidifying agent, and it is present as a liquid in the room temperature, and mainly used for maintaining the stock of microorganisms. So this is about nutrient agar, very easy to prepare. Okay, now I am going to show you how some very common organism, non-fastidious organism, looks on the nutrient agar. So this is Escherichia coli. So you can see Escherichia coli also can grow on simple medium like nutrient agar, and this is the second one is Pseudomonas. Pseudomonas, you can see it has also produce the pigment pyocyanin, the blue color pigment you can see. So nutrient agar also demonstrates the pigment that is produced by bacteria. Some bacteria have this ability to produce um, pigments, and for which nutrient agar is very helpful, and it also shows the pigment in the right color of the pigment actually. And then we have Staphylococcus aureus. You can see this is also a nutrient agar plate. We have Staphylococcus aureus growing in it. Here also you can see the golden yellow pigment that is produced by Staphylococcus aureus. So it is very appreciable on nutrient agar. The pigments are very appreciable. You can see the exact color. Then you have Klebsiella. So here you can see Klebsiella colonies, which are very characteristic of Klebsiella. You can see the mucoid colony. So these are some very common pathogen as well as non-fastidious organism that can be easily grown on nutrient agar. And another advantage is that nutrient agar will allow the pigment to be seen. So it's very easy to see the pigment if at all it is produced by the organism. The examples can be Pseudomonas over here. You can see it by yourself. Staph aureus producing golden yellow pigment, and see the non-pigment producers, you can see there is no pigment. So it's very easy to differentiate also. There is no pigment in Klebsiella, there is no pigment in E. coli. These two have the pigment and they are very well appreciated on the surface of nutrient agar. Now the importance of simple media. So every different type of media has their own importance. So simple media, first of all, is very easy to prepare simple media. You don't have need any other source of enrichment. So it's the ingredients are very easily available. For example, if you want to prepare an enriched media like blood agar, in that case you'll have to have sheep blood, and then for the sheep blood you'll have to have your own animal house. So those are very tedious procedures, but for simple media it is very easy. You need 3 to 4 ingredients and you can make a simple media. Then it is found that it supports growth of most non-fastidious bacteria. So many non-fastidious bacteria, which are common pathogens of human being, you can manage to grow on simple media. So it's very easy to handle them, to grow them, isolate them, and identify them using simple media also. So if you have basic media, you can definitely isolate them on them, for example nutrient agar, and go on about doing the different biochemical tests and identify them. Second importance is for all biochemical tests to reduce error. This is very important. Once the bacteria has grown on the culture media, we have to identify them by doing various biochemical tests. Now, what happens is if you have grown a bacteria on a special media with the different kinds of inhibitors, dyes or different kinds of ingredients, there is a chance that certain biochemical properties are inhibited by these dyes, and you may get a false positive or false negative result. So, it is always suggested and advised to perform a biochemical test from nutrient agar, because nutrient agar has the basic ingredients that are present on for that are required for the growth of bacteria, and there is lesser chance. Lesser interference by a dye. There is no dye in nutrient agar, so the interference by the dye is reduced in, or is completely absent in case of nutrient agar. Then of course for subculture it can be used if you want to, if you are doing a research or a very thorough study. So you need to continuously keep subculturing your organism, and this is one of the best media, simple media. If at all the organism is not fastidious, the simple medias are the best choice for subculturing the organism. Also, for for maintaining stock culture, because in the research what happens, people are dealing with 100 and more than 100 strains of the same organism, and if they finish the study, suppose 50 strains they have already finished, they don't need it for any more tests. They already have the findings, but they still have to preserve the organism for further studies, if at all it is required, or until their study is over. So they can maintain or they can stock them in either liquid medium, or they can make semi-solid nutrient agar or dips, and they can preserve those organisms there. And when they want it again, they can just subculture from there and revive the organism. So that was about simple media, and what are the importance of simple media, and what are the different ways of classifying media. So we'll quickly summarize. The media can be classified based on consistency. So if agar is present, solid media; agar is absent, liquid media. If agar is present in a very less quantity or concentration, it is semi-solid media. Then based on oxygen requirement, aerobic and anaerobic media. And again, simple media, the most common are neutral agar and neutral broth. They allow the growth of non-fastidious pathogens. And in this picture, we discussed how the common pathogens like E. coli, Pseudomonas, Staphylococcus, Klebsiella appears, and also how they are very useful in seeing or appreciating the pigment produced by the bacteria. So that is all for that is all for that is all for culture media. Thank you so much, and please post your questions and queries so that I can answer them.